Matt Roloff heartbroken, Karen Chandler dies after tragic plane crash. Hello viewers, welcome back to my channel. For Roloff family latest news update, please subscribe to the channel and press the bell icon. Little people, big world LPBW. The Roloff family has weathered many storms, family feuds, farm disputes, divorces, and personal battles. But nothing could have prepared fans, friends, and loved ones for the devastating blow that came with the tragic news. Karen Chandler, longtime partner of Matt Roloff, had died in a sudden plane crash. The moment the news broke, the LPBW community was plunged into shock. For years, Karen had stood by Matt's side, helping him run Roloff Farms, sharing adventures, and building a future together. The tragedy has left Matt heartbroken, the Roloff family reeling, and fans worldwide struggling to process the unthinkable. The accident happened on what seemed like an ordinary day. Karen had been traveling for a short getaway, something she often did to recharge away from the public eye. Eyewitnesses reported that the small private plane she was aboard experienced sudden mechanical failure mid-flight. Within minutes, the aircraft descended rapidly before crashing into a remote field. Emergency responders arrived quickly, but the impact had been catastrophic. Karen Chandler, along with two others on board, was pronounced dead at the scene. The news spread like wildfire, with local Oregon outlets first breaking the story before it went national and then global. For LPBW fans, it was almost impossible to process. Karen, who had become such an integral part of Matt's life, was suddenly gone. Social media filled with stunned messages. "This can't be real. My heart breaks for Matt, and not Karen. She was just so full of life." For Matt Roloff, the loss was earth-shattering. Karen wasn't just his girlfriend. She was his confidant, his business partner, his best friend, and the person he envisioned spending the rest of his life with. In the hours after the crash, sources close to the family revealed that Matt was inconsolable, repeatedly saying, "This can't be happening. We had so many plans." Matt and Karen had recently been working on expanding their life in Arizona, balancing time between the desert and Roloff Farms in Oregon. They had talked openly about marriage, retirement dreams, and enjoying the next chapter of life together. All of that vanished in an instant. For someone who had already been through a painful divorce from Amy Roloff, this tragedy cut even deeper. Karen was the person who had helped Matt find joy again. Now, faced with her sudden death, he was left broken, struggling to imagine life without her. The Roloff children, though often at odds over family business matters, came together in grief. Zach Roloff reportedly broke down when he got the call. Though Zach and Karen had a complicated history, especially when it came to Roloff Farm, she acknowledged her deep love for his father. Zach told close friends that he couldn't imagine Dad without her. Jeremy Roloff shared an emotional post online, reflecting on how Karen had supported the family through many changes. He wrote about the importance of cherishing loved ones, ending with the words, "Life is fragile. Hug your people tighter." Molly Roloff, who lives privately in Washington, was devastated. Though she stayed away from the spotlight, she had always appreciated Karen's presence in Matt's life. Jacob Roloff expressed sorrow in his own way, remembering Karen as someone who quietly cared for Matt during tough times. His wife Isabel also posted a heartfelt tribute, saying that Karen had always treated her with kindness. Even Amy Roloff, Matt's ex-wife, reached out. Despite their complicated history, Amy admitted in a statement that Karen loved Matt and Matt loved Karen. This loss is unimaginable. For years, critics and fans debated Karen's role in the Roloff family. Some saw her as the woman who helped Matt move on too quickly from Amy. Others recognized her as the steady presence who brought happiness into Matt's later years. But beyond the controversies, Karen's legacy is undeniable. She worked at Roloff Farms for many years, handling pumpkin season crowds, helping with events, and supporting the Roloff brand. She was fiercely protective of Matt, often standing by him during family disputes. To fans, Karen came to represent resilience. She entered a complicated family dynamic, faced criticism, but still chose love. Her sudden death leaves behind a legacy of loyalty, dedication, and quiet strength. Roloff Farms has always been more than just land. It's a symbol of the Roloff family legacy, featured in nearly every season of Little People, Big World. For years, Karen Chandler played a behind-the-scenes role in keeping that legacy alive. From pumpkin season to private events, she was Matt's right hand. Matt had relied on her organizational skills, her ability to handle visitors, and her calming presence during high-stress situations. Karen was the one who managed the long lines of guests during pumpkin season, fielded fan questions, and made sure Matt didn't overwork himself. Without her, Roloff Farms felt quieter, emptier, almost hollow. Even more pressing was the family tension. The farm had already been at the center of disputes between Matt, Zach, and Jeremy. Karen often served as a buffer, helping Matt navigate disagreements and reminding him to compromise. Now that voice of reason was gone, and the fractures within the family risked widening again. Friends close to the Roloffs admitted that Karen's absence might accelerate the farm's eventual sale. Matt had previously spoken about retiring in Arizona with Karen, splitting his time between his dream home and the farm. Now, with no partner to share that dream, he faced painful choices about whether to continue managing the property or finally let it go. For fans, the possibility of Roloff Farms changing hands felt like losing another piece of history. When Matt and Amy Roloff divorced, viewers wondered whether Matt would ever find happiness again. Enter Caryn Chandler. What began as a friendship blossomed into something deeper. Karen had worked at Roloff Farms for years, so she knew Matt well, his strengths, his flaws, his stubbornness, and his heart. Over time, the two grew inseparable, much to the curiosity and sometimes criticism of fans. Despite outside judgment, their bond only deepened. Karen supported Matt through surgeries, stood beside him in family feuds, and celebrated milestones with him. They built a life that balanced work with adventure, often traveling to Arizona, where they dreamed of retiring together. Matt once said, "Karen brings balance into my life. She makes me laugh, she calms me down, and she sees me for who I am." Their love story wasn't about flash, it was about companionship, partnership, and finding joy later in life. That's why Karen's sudden death felt even more cruel. A relationship that promised many more years was cut short in a moment, leaving behind memories, but also a gaping absence. The Roloff family has faced many public struggles, but Caryn Chandler's tragic passing marked a new and painful chapter. For Matt Roloff, it was not just the loss of a partner but the loss of his anchor, his companion, and his vision of the future. For fans, it was a reminder of life's fragility. One moment, Karen was smiling beside Matt on a farm tour. The next, she was gone. Yet even in Heartbreak, Karen's legacy endures through the love she gave Matt, the memories she created with the Roloffs, and the quiet strength she brought to a family always under the spotlight. Matt now faces the long road of healing, surrounded by children, grandchildren, and fans who want to see him find peace. Whether Roloff Farms remains in the family or not, whether Little People, Big World continues or ends, one truth is certain: Caryn Chandler's presence forever changed the Roloff story. And though her life ended too soon, the love she shared with Matt remains eternal. As weeks turned into months, the reality of Karen's death settled over Matt Roloff like an unshakable fog. Friends described him as hollow, a man going through the motions of life, but unable to find the spark that once fueled him. Matt had always been a man of projects. From tree houses to elaborate farm renovations, his energy came from envisioning and creating. Karen had been both his sounding board and his biggest cheerleader during those projects. Without her, even the simplest tasks felt meaningless. Matt used to bounce ideas off Karen every single day, a family insider explained. Now he just stares at blueprints and walks away. It's like he can't imagine building anything without her input. Even holidays took on a heavy, sorrowful tone. Thanksgiving, once a celebration filled with food, laughter, and Karen's careful touch in decorating, became quiet. Christmas was worse. Karen had loved the season, often organizing lights, presents, and small traditions for the Roloff grandchildren. That year, Matt couldn't bring himself to decorate the Arizona house they had planned to retire in together. The farm in Oregon, too, felt different. During pumpkin season, fans noticed Matt was less energetic. Where Karen once stood at his side, managing crowds with a smile, there was now only Matt greeting visitors with forced cheer that masked the pain in his eyes. Perhaps the most surprising development came from Amy Roloff, Matt's ex-wife. Their divorce had been messy, their post-divorce relationship often strained, and Karen's presence in Matt's life had been a sore subject for years. But tragedy has a way of softening old resentments. In the months after Karen's death, Amy quietly reached out to Matt not as an ex-wife, but as someone who understood grief. Amy had experienced her own heartbreak during her divorce and knew the loneliness of starting over. She reportedly invited Matt over for dinner one evening, encouraging him to lean on family instead of shutting himself away. Fans were stunned when both Amy and Matt shared a rare photo together at a family gathering, their differences set aside, united in mourning Karen's absence. It was a reminder that, beneath the drama, they were still connected by history, children, and shared humanity. For years, the Roloff kids had been divided over the farm. Zach and Jeremy, once hopeful heirs, felt betrayed when Matt decided not to pass the land down. Tensions had created a rift, with some siblings barely speaking at times. But Karen's death changed the tone. Suddenly, the arguments over property and money seemed trivial compared to the pain of losing someone they loved. Zach began visiting the farm more often, helping his father with maintenance and making sure the grandchildren spent time with him. Jeremy reached out with long phone calls, encouraging his dad to focus on faith and family. Molly organized a small, private gathering to remember Karen, highlighting her role as part of the family. Jacob spent extra time on the land, assisting Matt with day-to-day work and quietly standing by his side when silence was more comforting than words. For perhaps the first time in years, the Roloff children were united not by business, but by shared grief and the desire to help their father heal. As word of Karen's passing spread, Little People, Big World fans began calling on TLC to air a special tribute episode. After all, Karen had been part of the show's later seasons, and many felt her presence deserved recognition. Petitions circulated online, gathering thousands of signatures. Fans wanted a proper farewell clips of Karen laughing, organizing farm events, supporting Matt, and sharing her perspective. TLC eventually responded, releasing a one-hour special titled Remembering Karen. The episode featured behind-the-scenes footage, heartfelt interviews with Matt, Amy, and the children, and a retrospective of Karen's years both on and off camera. The episode brought fans to tears, but it also gave closure. For many, it was a way to honor Karen's life publicly, recognizing her not just as Matt's partner, but as someone who had touched the LPBW legacy forever.